Spring training has officially started and we got some action. We got some injuries, we got some guys lighting up the league early, and we got that and so much more in today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane, and unfortunately, Dominic Martino couldn't join me today, but that's normally my co-host. So if you're watching on YouTube, please click the bell below. It'll subscribe you to the channel and give you an alert every time we drop a new episode. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple and or Spotify or wherever you may listen. Please, if you've done that, might as well join us on Subtext platform, become a member of the Diamond Club, where you could send us a screenshot of that review and we'll get you an entry into the lottery to get into the Listener League. So simply find in the description below this episode, send us that screenshot, and you'll get a lottery pick into the Listener League, which is going to be a good time. Going to go up against Dom and I, and we're going to see if you guys can beat us up or we're going to take you down. We shall see. Again, I am Matthew Ane, your host for today, and today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And we got a good one today. Like I said at the top, we got spring training review. We got some news that I'm not really thrilled about. That's giving me kind of the willies a bit. And we'll start off with the Kodai Senga news. Senga is dealing with that injury. He's going to be put on the IL with a shoulder strain. And it looks like, he's not going to be ready for quite some time. He's not going to be ready for opening day for sure. Might miss 4 weeks. I don't have the official, date as to when he's going to be able to return to the team, but never a good sign for a guy going down, um, you know, this early. Especially with shoulder. We look at what happened with like Carlos Rodon last year. We look what happened with Nestor Cortez, even Tristan McKenzie, and we see these unfortunate things happen, and they're not back to 100%. They don't really catch up, and it might take a whole season for them to really get right. Or you get a guy like Justin Verlander that bounced back pretty quickly, and then was able to just do his thing. Now, Kodai Senga, I have the official date now. His expected return date is 4/29, so probably just sit out for most of spring training and then get ramped up as the season started in the minors with some, probably some mound work, some bullpen work, then finally get a couple of minor league game stints in there, and then finally make his way back to the roster. So not atrocious, but how that did affect how I draft Senga, and I've dropped him to like pitcher 40, maybe even a little lower, just because you know what, I don't like the soft tissue issue with the shoulder. Hopefully, it's nothing extra. Yes, it's a strain, but what else can this lead to? And just a little more. Let's use the word conservative when picking him. I won't blame you if you go higher, but that's just not me, not for my cup of tea in that regard. So, to each his own. Draft at a risk. It could pan out, or you could fall right on your face. We shall see. Now, the other unfortunate news is Justin Verlander. Verlander is also hurt, and if you haven't been following, he has another shoulder injury to start the season, unfortunately. And, that's not really good for, a 41-year-old, let alone that he started the last season off with. Yes, he was able to bounce back, but it wasn't like the Cy Young Verlander. Even said he's not healing like he used to when he was like 20 years old, which, nobody expects that. And lastly, I just got the alert today that my guy isn't even going to be ready to face live batters yet. We're going into, the second week of spring training games next week, and that's never good. He's going to miss a lot of time and a lot of effort to be able to pretty much, get those outings. So I'm really disappointed. I was really hoping that like he would be a nice pitcher 3 or 4 for me, but it doesn't seem like that. I've dropped him quite a bit too. I've dropped him down into the 50s unless we see a return. And when he does return, how long it's going to take for them to ramp him up? Are they going to rush him too? That's the other thing. Like, I don't think he's out of the woods unless he comes back like this weekend. Because if he misses the rest of this week and part of next week, now with a 41-year-old, if he does play for opening day, they might be rushing him back. And then that can lead to some lingering issues or his injury to return, or he's never right, or he has a longer IL stint down the stretch. So like that's the case if he comes back and is ready for opening day. And if he's, not healthy, they decide to ramp him up slowly, he misses 2 weeks. Like that's the two, end to end bookends of how this thing can go. So Justin Verlander, he definitely comes with a red flag as well now. So he's more of like, wouldn't say an avoid. The right price always sways me. It's just right now I'm not touching him. But let's get off these, sad stories of guys getting hurt and guys I was really targeting specifically. Senga, he was my 12th pitcher going into the year. Now, unfortunately, had to drop. Um, let's talk about some good news. Let's talk about Juan Soto already crushing the ball in camp. Juan Soto, I mean, we all know what talent he is and how good he can be, hence why the Yankees traded Thorpe for him and, really made it a point to go out and grab him. And right now, Juan Soto is doing his thing. I got his stats here, you know, through 4 at-bats, 2 games, which small sample size, but trust me, these are already ridiculous. 2 runs, a double, a bomb, 5 ribs, a walk, a strikeout. Like, he's killing it, even hitting 500. Like, let's go. Juan Soto is doing exactly what we want him to. I said it too in the beginning of the offseason. If you're new to this show or you just weren't listening yet, I was a little hesitant on Juan Soto and whether he could actually, defy my rule of, new team, with a slow start essentially, because normally how I approach these guys that go to new teams is, they take a little time to get started. You start with like Turner, Freddie Freeman, um, you know, other guys that have been traded over the last couple of years, big names, and they have a slow start in certain categories. Like, Turner didn't steal as much, his average was down. Freddie Freeman, his power was down, but other overall numbers made up for that. He was still a fantastic player. But you expect Freddie Freeman to hit 35, 30. So, with Juan Soto, I wasn't sure because he kind of didn't fit that mold to begin with, because this isn't like he's been traded before or on a new team. And with the Padres that year, yeah, he had a down year in batting average, but he was already having a down year in batting average that year to begin with. And I think he was just trying to shake off more the Washington stench than him actually having issues with the move. Like, he was batting 246 before he got traded, and when he got traded, he batted 236 through like 52 games. Like, it's not a large sample size. So like that next year, that first full year, he came back and he was lights out last year. So I don't foresee him having much issue. There's a lot more on the table with him playing with guys like Juan Soto. I mean, Juan Soto, like Aaron Judge and such, and Cole, and being on the Yankees in general. Um, you know, Having a team that's looking to win behind him versus the stench of Washington, and honestly, the ball dropping that we can call San Diego, because they just haven't lived up to it. You know, ultimately isn't isn't there anymore. And I think being in the New York atmosphere is going to be a good thing for Juan Soto. So I do think he transfers. I've moved him up in my rankings. I'm confident in drafting him. I don't foresee any issue. If he repeats what he did last year, I think he lives up to his pick and more. 275 batting average, which I still think, he could get closer up to 280, 290. He definitely has that in his profile. Um, he walked 132 times and struck out only 129 times. Like, the guy is plate discipline to the T. If you look up in a dictionary, there's his picture, and I think there's just a whole nother level to it, especially with that short porch and all that wonderful stuff. Juan Soto has all the makings of being an elite fantasy asset for 2024. So Before we move on, we start talking about, you know, who are my favorite target, who are other guys that are just absolutely ripping it up this season, this spring training, and go into later into the show. We're talking young guys, such as like I'll tease a little bit Jackson Churio and see what his stance looks like. I got a quick ad break for you. You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets for your next big event. That's why you need to check out the Gametime app. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theaters near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for your new event. Use the Game Time app. It's super rewarding with flash deals and last minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of the seat and view of that seat, both left and right. You can move the camera around. It's pretty dope. Lowest price guaranteed. Event cancellation protection, which you don't get with every site. And all prices are shown with in your total up front. So you're getting the best deal before you check out, and they truly do. Everything you look at, their fees and whatnot are included in the price, and they're definitely better than other sites. I won't name names; I'm not allowed. Um, Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions may apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code Locked On LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And Locked On has lost its first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you, covering 24/7s of the top stories of today with local experts on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel. And guys, and most importantly here, the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast is introducing the Diamond Club on Subtext, as I mentioned at the top of the show, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Dive into this offseason with Dom and I as we provide you with tiered-based rankings with over 100 outfields ranked and over 100 starting pitchers ranked. You'll also have exclusive access to our prospect insights, sleepers, breakouts, busts, personalized draft grades, and when you have the burning questions, we've got the answers. Plus, as the season unfolds, rely on us for our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of the fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to victory begins. Subscribe now. Elevate that fantasy baseball experience to new levels. And also, don't forget, I mentioned at the top, since you're joining, which you should, you might as well give us a review on Apple and take a screenshot of it and send it to us on the Subtext, and they'll get you an entry into the lottery to be in the listener league. So you don't want to miss out on either opportunity. And simply put, too, you don't want to miss out on our rankings to help you win that league. So let's get back into it. Let's get her going. All right. And my next guy here is probably, if you've been around from last season, I got love for him. And I'm not as high on him this season, but it's more of not an indictment on, you know, his talent or what I think his, total outlook could be, but more of just can he stay on the field? He's another guy that plays overly aggressive, puts himself in situations where he shouldn't be. They should just really just leave him at DH. And without further ado, Eloy Jimenez. Like Eloy is one of my favorite guys out there, and you know what? Like I need him to really just stay healthy, and by all means, he's going to be incredible. Eloy right now is off to a great start, which I see. I can tell you, I saw that coming. Through 3 games, 8 at-bats, not much, but this is spring training. 1 run, 3 singles, 2 doubles, no bombs yet, but 4 ribs, and batting 625 right now with an OPS of, 0.15, 0.1500, like 1500. Like, this is what I love about him. Like, the dude gets the job done when he's actually on the field. Like, he is fantastic. Like, he can seriously be a world beater, and there's going to be a season where he stays healthy and he's one of the best bats in baseball. Last year just wasn't able to really get her done. He played most of the season, which he hasn't played this many at bats in quite some time, but he was coming off some injuries from the year before, and just I think it was just a down year for him. Like you look at what he did in 2019, like, I think we could get there again soon. Um, Even what he did in 2022 coming off that injury in that short period of time and like 327 at bats, he was a serious fantasy impact player. He helped me drive me all the way to the championship, in 22 because he came back off the injury and just was smoking the ball off the cover. And I was just like, yes, that's my guy. So, like, quite honestly, like, it's just a matter of health with this dude. Um, I have him ranked lower, so it's not as painful. His draft price is nowhere near what you have to worry about with like a guy I talked about on yesterday's episode about you know injury risk and such because I was talking about Jazz Chisholm and his draft price was significantly higher than than Eloy. Eloy's going at pick 187 where Jazz is going at, why isn't this giving it to me? There we go. Jazz is going at pick 83, literally 100 pick difference. Both play the same position. Both have the same injury risk, but one costs you a hell of a lot less. And I'd rather take the shot on the guy that's costing me way less with, you know, upside that's equivalent to Jazz without having to pay the premium price. Now, the only difference is if Jazz puts a whole season together, he's a 5 category contributor where Eloy isn't. But still, 100 pick difference. I'm still targeting Eloy. Eloy at that point would be your fourth outfielder, maybe first bench player, or even a UT, depending on how you're constructed your team and how much pitching you've targeted and such. So I like him there. I like the price this year versus where I was having to pick him in the top 100 last year. So Eloy is somebody that if he continues this progress through spring, able to make it out of spring without getting dinged up and get to that draft weekend, he'll probably be on all my teams. So keep an eye out for Eloy. Let's follow this and see if he can get me excited again and entice to draft him and target him a little bit more. Let's talk about another guy here. Last I'll say veteran or a player that's been in the league for a little bit. And that's Teoscar Hernandez. Teoscar, newly acquired by the Dodgers, and honestly is just doing his thing, making me very, very excited to draft him this year. Hernandez is just living a little bit more than I actually you know, thought he could do. But I mean, ultimately, you look at him and you're like, well, he's always had him. And so far, spring has really been good to him. He's played 4 games, 10 at bats, 2 runs, a single, 2 doubles, 2 ribs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, batting 300. Like, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, Teoscar looks like, hey, I'm gonna bounce back from that crappy first half, kind of look more like in the second half. And he was pretty valuable in that second half. I'm trying to get those numbers up for you while we're talking here. But like, Teoscar could be serious, serious, serious contributor, and he's going at a decent price as well. And yeah, I'm loving it. Like his second half numbers were pretty good. He had 285 at bats, he had 28 runs, he had 14 doubles, 11 bombs in that time, 43 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batted 267. Even the first half wasn't atrocious, but the overall numbers were not indicative of it. Plus, the team around him wasn't as fun. Like he was on Toronto the year before, Seattle, I apologize. And, he just wasn't getting in the right spots, I guess. I'm not sure. It wasn't good. Let's put it that way. I'll also say first year, new team. Maybe it's different going here. Maybe I'm just talking in circles, but ultimately, I just think he's going to be successful. And, we will see a dip in a certain category. But if Freddie Freeman is anything of what the Dodgers lineup can do to your stats, I think any indication of what the Dodgers can do to your stats, I think Teoscar Hernandez might have the same outcome. Maybe not the power, but I mean, you never really count on Hernandez for power. But I think the runs and ribbies will be there. I think the batting average might be a little bit dipped, but if he's hitting about 260, I'm not mad. And he could be great for you. And if he walks with 15 home runs with 100 and 100 and whatnot, I'm pretty happy with Teoscar Hernandez's outlook in that. Let's just pull up his draft price real quick, just so I can do this. He's going off the board at 125 too. It's not an atrocious price. Again, he's probably your third or fourth outfielder, UT guy, and I'm really not mad at it. And the upside is significant. So yeah, I'm targeting him now. And let's just keep following because if spring training's gonna continue in this trend, we're gonna like him. But enough of me talking around in circles. I got a bunch of young dudes coming up, such as Tamar Johnson, James Wood, Robert Hassel, Junior Carmenero, and Jackson Churio. So there's a lot of these young guys that are killing it in this spring training and want to go over it. I'll talk about whether they're going to be called up, what to expect, why I'm bringing these names up, and we can go from there. But before that, I got one last what do you call it? Sponsor for you. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. And because this is not a basketball podcast, I will give you some betting options for baseball. So bet on some futures. I've been saying it the last couple of days. Ellie De La Cruz, could be a stolen base season leader, plus 750 last I checked. Bobby Witt, plus 1,000. So those are great odds on quick, easy prop bets, quick, easy player bets for futures that you could make. And the likelihood is significant. You know, both those guys have the opportunity to go and get 70 stolen bases. So why not take the shot? Quick $5 bet will get you done. Just visit fanduel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right. And we are back. We got one last. We are done with all of our ad breaks. We are chilling. We're going to coast right to the end, and we got a whole bunch of young dudes to talk about. And I'm super excited about this. Let's talk about a guy we really haven't covered this year yet, and that's Tamar Johnson. Tamar Johnson, I'm going to go about who he is first, and then we'll get into what he's doing in um in the bigs. I mean, in spring. And you know what? Tamar has really been an interesting one. He's the prospect for the Padres, and he's an interesting one. Not my typical favorite prospect, but man, the kid's got power. He's 5'8", 175 pounds, which what you can never say guy that small can't hit home runs. I mean, guys have done it, and he looks like he's got a power. He looks like he's got power. He's doing it in the spring, but he's also doing it in the minors here through 349 at bats last year. He had 83 runs, 12 doubles, a triple, 18 bombs, 59 ribs, 10 stolen bases, and he walked 101 times to 120 strikeouts. Batted 244, funny enough. So maybe he's either flying out or grounding out. Maybe that might be his, what keeps him from making the team this year. But somebody I want to bring to everybody's attention early so that we can, kind of cover what he's doing, and kind of go from there. Here we go. Did I totally butcher his name on this? I totally did. I apologize. Sorry, Tamar Johnson. Just ignore how I spelled his name. But here we go. So far in spring, he's had about 6 at bats, 2 runs, 2 bombs, 3 ribs, 2 strikeouts, batting about 333. OPS is nice at a 1.667. Like, how you doing? He has this all in him, and I really do like him a lot. Um, you know, what he can do for your team is going to be great. If he could get the call, I think he will, but I don't think he's going to break camp unless he just goes on a complete tear. But the youngin just, I don't think gets the call so far. Maybe he's more of like a super two. He's only 19, I might add. Might be a super two call up. Might be a September cup of coffee call up. But he's a name to keep out, to keep a lookout for. And I don't want you to forget about him. Spring training is always a nice indicator of what they're going to do this year, and what could possibly thrust him into the bigs. So enough on him. Let's keep moving. Let's talk James Wood. James Wood, another great prospect here. I love James Wood. He's a prospect for the what do you call it? Spit it out, Matt. The Washington Nationals. Big boy, I might add. Polar opposite of Johnson. 6'6", 234 pounds. Who this guy is a player last year, 473 at bats, 80 runs, 28 doubles, 8 triples, 26 home runs, 91 ribs, 18 stolen bases, batted about 262. Dude is a top 5 prospect, in my opinion. Um, I love him. The fact that he's already getting started is a real nice thing. So right now in spring training, he has 4 games, 9 at bats, 5 runs, 2 singles, 2 bombs, 4 ribs, 3 walks to a strikeout. He's batting 444. Now, again, this is small sample size, but I mean, I feel like spring training is all small sample sizes. But he's doing it against big league pitching, and he's doing it when he needs to prove himself and get the call and try and make the big league roster. So James Wood is kind of showing up. I don't know if he breaks camp either. I think he will be up at some point this season, whether that's Super 2, again, cup of coffee at the end of the year. We shall see. But hey, who knows? I mean, it's not like Washington has much going for them. They need to put the fans in the seats. So, why not take the shot on Wood and just bring him up? We shall see. I mean, there's also that incentive from the league to call up your guys. So it's a TBD. Jury's still out, but I like it. I like it. He's doing a lot of good things. Let's move on. Let's talk about Robert Hassel, also Washington Nationals prospect. I like Hassel a lot as well. Hassel has an interesting profile. I'm trying to pull up his stuff too. I apologize. I'm not um as prepared for today, but I promise the information is good at least, right? Um, so my guy is an interesting prospect. 6'1", 186 pounds. He's friggin' 22 years old, I might add. And so far in 2023, in his minor league season, 467 at bats, 66 runs, 16 doubles, 2 triples, 9 bombs, 41 ribs, 15 stolen bases. Batting average is ugly at 221. The fall league this year was nice though. He had 82, he had 69 at bats, he had 9 runs, had a home run, 6 stolen bases. Like, this dude is going to be more of like, I would say more of a stolen base guy, maybe like a 20-30 guy. The batting average is the jury's still out. He kind of had a slow start to the season last year as well, and then kind of kicked it up. So, you know, we'll see. I like him. He's a top 100 prospect. We'll see. Got to keep an eye out on. He's doing some nice things in spring training. Um, you know, he has 2 bombs already, 4 ribs. So I like it. I like it a lot. Now let's get another guy in here real quick. A guy that I think is killing it right now is Junior Caminero. Junior is one of my favorite prospects this year. Period. Tampa Bay Rays prospect. Oh man, he's already got a bomb in. He's already got 3 ribs. He's got only 5 at bats a run, batting 400. Caminero is a serious. You know, what do you call it? What do you call it? Spit it out. Prospect for power, funny enough. I'm pretty excited. Sorry, I'm stumbling. 6'1", 157 pounds. He's a little skinny dude, third base and short. But man, I mean, 19 years old, but he's killing it, man. I mean, you can't really get mad. I think when he finally gets the call and he's doing his thing this year, it's going to be real great. Like, my guy had 31 home runs in the minors last year. How could you want to pass up on that talent? Like, the total stat line was 460 at bats, 85 runs, 18 doubles, 6 triples, 31 bombs, 94 ribs, 5 stolen bases, 42 walks to 100 strikeouts, batted 324. Like, Caminero has all the makings of a great prospect. So keep an eye out for him, and quite honestly, target him everywhere. He's going to be fun this year, and I think he's going to break camp, especially with the lack there of Wander Franco and all that garbage. So Caminero honestly is a must target and a must draft this year. He's on my breakout list. So yeah, that's all I got for today. I wanted to talk about Churio, ran out of time, but we'll cover him at some point this week. I think we're going to be talking prospects at some point. So with that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. And I think we're dropping possibly 2 more episodes today. So we shall see. Peace.